Hello, dear representatives of media. We are starting the meeting of the Foreign Ministry of Latvian Republic, Egils Rinkevich, with the Foreign Ministry of Pavlo Klimkins from Ukraine. Hello, dear journalists. I have the honor to see you here today, some of you just a couple of hours before starting off a Riga conference. And Riga conference is always a great opportunity to meet with colleagues. And before the conference, we will have also full bilateral visit from Ukraine, from my friend Pavlo Klimkin from Ukraine. We discussed today a lot about bilateral relationship and issues which we can move forward. Of course, situation in the Europe, also situation which currently is established with implementation of the Minsk agreement. Of course, also issues that touch upon relationship of Ukraine and the European Union. First of all, this was another opportunity for us in Latvia to confirm that we are strictly supporting and we will support territorial integrity of the Ukraine. And we underlined once again that Latvia will do everything in order to address this illegal occupation of Ukraine in the agenda of the EU and Latvia, that we support implementation of the Minsk agreement, and we consider that the policy of Russia and the European Union should stay as it is in this position. We also discussed very troubleshooting signals that were noticed also by UN reporters concerning worsening of the human rights position in Ukraine, and we also discussed cases when absolutely without justification people are judged and deprived of liberty, and activists of Tatarian. And a couple of days ago there was a sentencing of Premium Elnor, and we consider that Russia Federation has to stop casing Crimean Tatarians, and that we have to observe recommendations of all the international organizations concerning the position of minorities and human rights, as in the Russian Federation in total. We also discussed bilateral issues. Our political dialogue has been very active and intensive. In April, we had a visit from the president of Ukraine, Mr. Poroshenko, and our prime minister with our colleagues was in Kiev. Next March, we expect a visit of the prime minister of Ukraine, Mr. Groisman, and we also look forward to our political contacts and dialogues. We have a lot of discussions in the consular level. We also discussed that we are going to support the reform process of Ukraine, and we already see that there has been a good cooperation between our ministries of agriculture, and we can look forward to giving practical advice in land reform issues, in governance issues. We have a rural support service, and that might be help. And we discussed a lot of practical issues where we could deepen and expand our cooperation. Of course, also economical trade relationship is important. Another thing I would like to mention and then give the floor to my colleague, that is a relationship between Ukraine and the European Union. As you know, we are now preparing for Eastern Partnership Summit in November. We have started to work on preparation of decisions and declaration. And we see that implementation of association between the European Union and Ukraine is, though with some difficulties, but a success story. And we can work towards cooperation in transport, logistic, and sectoral issues. At the same time, we think that we have to give clear signal to the Eastern Partnership that we are ready to cooperate with those countries which wish to do that, like Ukraine, Georgia, Moldova. We are talking about deepened cooperation in the field of security. We have already operations of the European Union where separate partnerships have participated. We have to look on the ways how to include our partners in East and in West in our work for them to be a part of this cooperation mechanism, in this way enhancing stability. Here we are ready to work together on a lot of issues that could be also a wider cooperation. Knowing that you have questions and that my colleague also has essay, so I stop now and I say once again, Pavlo, for this constructive and fruitful conversation. And I would like to hope that also our future bilateral, multilateral relationship will be as wide and positive, as rich as it is now. Thank you, Mr. Rinkovic. And now the floor is given to Pavlo Klimkin.
Many thanks for this kind of invitation. It's always great to come over to Riga. Looking at you, I feel almost ashamed because you have your time in Ukrainian colors. I have to buy one, in Latvian colors now. But having these different colors, we have the same drive and the same fight, because we started our fight for independence 100 years ago. And now we have this important anniversary. You have reached your goal. You are now a European and democratic country and a member of the European Union and NATO. And we still have to go this road fully. And it's our goal. And we are very grateful for your support. Your support for our independence and territorial integrity, but also your support on our way of European and Euro-Atlantic integration. And of course, it's about political solidarity. Political solidarity is very important. It's about great economic cooperation, and we've just discussed a number of important issues. But it's also about very important humanitarian things. And I have to say here, and it's my personal point, not just a formal point like a foreign minister, we are very grateful for our friends, for the treatment of our wounded soldiers, for providing opportunities for kids out of the war region to have a spell here in Latvia. It's something which is invaluable on the top of our great political and economic relations. And of course, I have informed Edgars about what is going on in and around Donbass, where we don't have real ceasefire. Just this night we had shellings from heavy weaponry, including heavy mortars. We have very difficult humanitarian situations there, and we need to go in a very consistent way towards getting Russia out and getting to normal life for the people of Donbass who have been suffering for these 3 years. One of the way forward is, of course, peacekeeping operation, but not Russian twisted ideas about putting peacekeepers along the touchline, which would create simply another border and freeze the situation in a way that it would not allow us simply to get Donbass back and to restore our territorial integrity, but to have mandate for this mission for the whole occupied Donbass and, of course, for the uncontrolled part of Ukrainian-Russian border. And of course, the mandate of this mission should also include disarmament and pulling back of definitely Russian troops, mercenaries, and all kind of Russian weaponry. And Edgars, many thanks for your point about Crimea. And it's a very emotional point for all of us. This week, the United Nations published a report on the dire situation with human rights in Crimea. And just 1 day after, the Russians imprisoned one of the Crimean Tatars leaders who is critically ill and who has been sentenced to 2 years of forced labor. And is just another crime in the flurry of forced disappearance, what is going on in the occupied Crimea. And I really appreciate your personal effort here, because we had a number of common events, but we need solidarity and we need concerted efforts in putting pressure on Russia in order to change the whole flurry of human rights violation in Crimea. Because people are suffering now, and it's about Crimean Tatars, it's about Ukrainian, it's about Russian speaking, it's about everyone who is against Russian occupation there. And of course, we could not avoid EU-related agenda, which is naturally our common point, and we have a number of joint projects there, including Latvian engagement for the Ukrainian Agricultural Ministry. I believe we need to extend this cooperation, because from the 1st of September we have our association agreement fully in force. So we see a number of additional opportunities, and we will work on these opportunities. And of course, last but not least, I'm grateful for inviting me to feature today over the Riga Security Conference. I believe it's becoming a very important event, not only in regional dimension, but also in European dimension. But anyway, because I missed a number of opportunities, I believe it could be a good, friendly discussion today. Many thanks.
Paldies. Thanks. Ir kādi jautājumi? Jā.
Are there any questions? Bloomberg.
Foreign Affairs for Ukraine. You mentioned your objections to the Russian peacekeeping plan for eastern Ukraine involving UN peacekeepers. Could you tell us what the current status is of the talks and how you see the situation developing, what Ukraine wants to see in terms of, is it possible to get UN peacekeepers into the conflict zone? Thank you.
I believe that Russian proposal is not about any plan. It's an intentional trick to go into division among our friends and allies. Russian trick is about legitimizing Russian protectorate in the occupied Donbass, because it's about legitimization of Russian colonies there. Russian trick is about freezing the touchline as basically the new border, and Russian trick is about not increasing security, both for the OSCE and for the future peacekeepers, but actually for diminishing security, because having different mandates, they simply are not able to operate effectively. So our position, and we are in constant talk with our friends and allies about that, because we need to have really common position on that. Firstly, no legitimization of Russian protectorate in the occupied Donbass. Secondly, the mandate for the future peacekeeper mission simply must include the whole territory of the occupied Donbass and the uncontrolled part of the Ukrainian-Russian border. Third, this mandate should, of course, include full, and I mean really full, pullback of Russian regular forces, Russian mercenaries, Russian weaponry from the occupied Donbass and disarmament. And the real result for this mission should be to start transitional period and preparation for the future elections, for the free and fair elections in Donbass. So it's our vision, it's our common vision. I would like to reiterate it again with our friends and partners, Normandy format, European Union, because I had talks with almost every EU foreign minister. It's about also G7 position. And we believe that peacekeeper options could be a way forward, but not in a way of Russian tricks, but in the sense of consistent and effective operation in the future.
Thanks. Well, yeah.
Mike Collier, Latvian Public Media. Question for Minister Rinkevich. Did you discuss possible measures to try and prevent funding of illegal foreign fighters in Donetsk in particular and in Donbass via Latvian banks, bearing in mind some information that came out earlier this week that might actually be happening, and that this is the very building where the Riga Protocols against foreign fighters was signed?
No, we didn't discuss this issue with my colleague, but I can say that the appropriate authorities have launched the investigation, and I'm very eager to receive the kind of report about what actually happened, because we also have noted the statement of that particular bank. And I think that at this point we need to have quick investigation in this matter. What I can only say that if that's true, then it's contrary to our law, and it's totally unacceptable, and then of course the punishment should be let's say, being implemented in accordance with the provisions of the law.
Paldies. Vēl kāds jautājums?
Any other questions? No, thank you.